Welcome to Mommy Making Millions, the podcast. I'm your hostess, Marquitta Johnson, mompreneur mentor, author, and visionary strategist. I help mompreneurs develop balance between their businesses and their babies while attaining generational wealth, simply taking their ideas and helping them to turn it into profitable income. Join me bi-weekly as I put the spotlight on other successful millionaire mompreneurs for them to also share their best business practices and truly unveil what it looks like from the glamorous life to the deep, dark, nitty-gritty life of a mompreneur. All right, let's talk about our next guest on today's episode, Omouzuwa Seymour-El. We're going to be talking about this creative mommy millionaire, and that's exactly what we're going to call this episode on today, by the way, who is a creative mastermind entrepreneur and an incubator genius. She loves anything from the arts to writing, teaching, dancing, learning fashion, and honing in on her leadership experience and skills. Omouzuwa's passion is teaching creatives how to not only write music, production, and be in entrepreneurs, but she also loves to teach this in the areas of charter and private schools in the Chicagoland area. She's a Chicago native and has become a certified entrepreneur through the Sunshine Enterprises and is accredited in the Illinois State Licensed Teachers Board of Education is what I'm going to say. But aligning her business goals and dreams with instructional design, Omouzuwa definitely focuses on creating curriculum design and development as a career and technology certified, put some respect on her name, teacher. And she has initiated an incubator marketing education program for her for-profit business that thrives today because of her extensive non-for-profit experience. Listen, we're going to be talking about how you can get into the government system, get into landing big contracts as well by using your own expertise. Get into this episode, y'all. Let's go. We are back. All right, Omouzuwa, let's just jump right into it. Thank you for coming on the Mommy Making Millions podcast on today. The people don't even really know how early it is for us to even be doing this podcast. Usually I'm podcasting pretty late. But listen, sometimes you just have to have that balance as a mom to just kind of what I like to call get in where you fit in and just really, truly balance out your schedule. So I'm excited to talk to you this morning and really get into just who you are, how you're making an impact, not just for yourself in the industry of entrepreneurship, but how you're actually pouring back to the younger generation and actually building them up for what's next for their career. And I think that that's just really super important because a lot of people, we focus on generational wealth, but who's building back up our youth? So the fact that you're taking on this amazing journey through entrepreneurship by teaching other kids the fascination behind entrepreneurship. I want to hear a little bit about how your business, the Raw Talent Performing Arts, that you started in 2014. So give me a little bit of backstory about how you got started.
Okay, absolutely. Good morning, everyone, and thank you again, Marquitta, for having me this morning on the Mommies Making Millions podcast. So I started back in 2012, and I was working. I've been working actually in the fashion industry since I was 16, and so I was working in retail, and I started to just kind of get to a point to where it was, okay, I'm doing all these different things in retail, but I don't really see being a district manager being my end goal. Like there has to be something else for me to do. And I started working in the schools back in 2008. And I would host different dance workshops. I would do fashion styling events. I was teaching cheerleading and drill team and step. And then I would incorporate that into like a fashion show at the end of their program, as well as them having a performance. And so it just started to make sense and say, you know what, there's starting to be such a decrease of programming. We need to open the door, especially in the Chicago area. And so it was, when I was in high school, we had everything. There was no stone unturned. And so it didn't make sense for our generation that was younger than us to not have the same opportunities. And so when I started seeing the deficiency within the programming, we started Ross Holland Performing Arts. God gave me the vision. And it was rocky at first, but we have impacted so many students at this point, and helped turn around so many schools to where we know that we're doing our life's mission by incorporating the multidisciplinary arts and business leadership into the schools.
Wow. So that's okay. So that's, first of all, that's amazing. Let's talk about that.
Thank
So
you.
you're pretty much a creative. I love that side about you, because I think in high school I did a lot. I was a part of performing arts, or theater arts is what it was called.
Mm-hmm.
I did do speech team. I did do pom pom, cheerleading, and basketball. And you hear somebody saying they did all these things, it's like, what? Even softball. So you sound like you were really a creative. How did you? I want to take a bite-sized approach at your backstory just a little bit, because it would sound super easy. And I know that, like, you started saying that it wasn't easy, it started off a little bit rocky. But for you to have the courage to actually even go back into the school district, how did you bridge that connection? How were you able to identify that area of need? And how were you able to get the agreements or the contracts, or build the relationships to even get into that industry?
Absolutely. So starting back as being a creative, that used to be my market, like the creativepreneur. Ever since I was 4, I've been dancing, singing, acting, and performing. Even my mom started us in modeling even at age of 8. So it was kind of easy as a creative to already have your hands in everything, and then help uplift other creatives from in my church to in the community. So it was just a happy merge. I want to say what happened was, I'm a self-starter. So I'm one of those people to where you really don't have to tell me what to do. I like to learn new information, and I'm a sponge. So I'm going to take what you give me. And then if I feel like it applies and it's going to help, I'm most definitely going to take the plunge, and make it adhere to my life and what I'm trying to do. When I started Raw Talent, I had 2 meetings with a girl that I used to sing with in an old choir called Dexter Walker and Zion Movement. And she helped me. I had 2 meetings with her, and she helped me with the process of what does it mean to have a 501c3 organization. After my meetings with her, I spearheaded everything, sent off my paperwork, and within 30 days or less, we were officially a tax-exempt organization. So at that point, I said, okay, I'm going to start cold calling. I was still teaching after school. I was still actually teaching drill team and hip hop dance after school in the city, in Chicago, like on 43rd. And then during the day, I was working in retail as a manager. So as a floor manager. And I said, you know what? I need to hire an assistant. And I hired an assistant that I actually went to high school with. And I said, you know what? Let me show you what to do. So we started cold calling. I will go on CPS website. I will print out this list of all the district schools and all the Chicago public schools. And we started cold calling. Wow. And I mean, we would probably call about 55 to 60 schools a week.
Wow.
And within literally 40, it was about probably 30 to 45 days, we got our first email. But when we received the email, because a lot of people were interested, but they didn't have the funding until the next school year. So the first email that we received is actually the school that I work at now.
Wow.
Which is crazy. And so we received his email probably within 72 hours.
They were ready for it.
And that was, yep. Yeah. And so we were ready for it. So I went into the meeting. I had built my own curriculum from scratch, and I worked with a graphic designer who was also our photographer at the time. I worked with him to get everything together. Actually, before that, I had hired an intern from the Illinois Art Institute of Chicago. So he did our original logo. He designed the curriculum and helped, do all our branding when we first started. And so he was my intern. And we had everything already ready. So all I had to do was send over letterheads, the letters. I kind of did like a pitch letter on our letterhead, send over a sample 1-page of the curriculum in a brochure, and they loved it. So that's all I had to do, because I already had my educational collateral at the forefront. Had the meeting, and within 4 to 5 months after going through everything procurement-wise, we got our first $15K contract, and we worked with them for 3 years straight, teaching West African dance and drumming.
Wow. Now, is that
Yeah.
15,000 a year or is that 15,000 for 3 years?
So it's 15,000 a year,
Okay. Did
but
y'all
only
hear
teaching
that?
one
I
day a
mean,
week.
and that was the first. So let's
That
talk
was the
about
first.
this. This is the first, and I'm sure
Yes,
it
ma'am.
wasn't perfect. This is what I love about getting started. I'm sure this wasn't perfect, but this is what I love about you following purpose and you just having this crazy enough idea and this crazy enough dream and you being able to pull other people into the vision that you see. You know, you're like, I hired my first intern because a lot of people feel that they can't afford to build a team. You know, a lot of
Right.
moms feel like they don't have the funding. A lot of moms feel like they already have to have everything perfect. Or a lot of moms feel like, you know, they don't have X, Y, and Z. So we make all of these excuses as why we cannot just get started. But this is your background. This is your livelihood. This is something you eat, sleep, and breathe. All you needed was
Absolutely.
the opportunity, and you are hungry for that. I really love the fact that you said, you know, this person was the first person that did your graphic design, your logo. You know, this person was the person that, you know, like you were able to build off of that, capitalize off of that. And not only that, you have the confidence to be bold. Like, you know, me and this person, we're cold calling. It really makes me think about, and this is one of my favorite movies, I digress, The Pursuit of Happiness. I love that
Love it.
movie. I just
Yes, I
love
do
that
too.
movie. I mean, I could watch that movie like all the time, especially like if I'm on my entrepreneur journey and I'm feeling like overwhelmed. I look at how hard Will Smith like had the grit, and I was watching Bel Air, you know, to keep thinking about Will Smith, but he had no grit, no grind. What was it? No grit, no grind, no reward, no grit, no grind. Something
Mhm.
I didn't forget it, but it just basically says it speaks to the language of you having to just be hungry for success, even without having the blueprint. You're creating the blueprint, and you're here today as a result of you just going in head first. No grit, no grind, no greatness is what I was trying to say. So, what was it like the first time when you saw that contract, $15,000? Like, what was you thinking? I want to know the real deal. Like, what was you thinking? Did you expect them to give you a $15,000 contract? Like, what was going through your head?
So the way that it happened, it was so easy. And I say easy in a way because there was no confusion. It was like, this is who you need to talk to. This is your point of contact. I'm going to introduce you to these people, and that's it. And
Mhm.
so it was. Mind you, my bank accounts and everything were already established. So literally, when I got the check, I remember them saying, come pick up the check in 2 weeks. And I got the check before programming started. And I remember looking at this check and being like, Lord, me? Like me? And I laugh because I am Nigerian American. So I always say like one of my sisters is like Yvonne Orgy. And even like I'm thinking about it now, but I'm like a whole me? Like me? Like this,
How do you say it?
like, yes,
How do you
a
say it?
whole a whole me? Like
Like little old me. Is that what that
yes,
translates to?
yes. Look, it's just like in full Nigerian accent. It's just like, God, you saw me.
You
I
are
didn't
so
ask for this.
far.
Yes, I didn't ask for this. And it was just like, please let me make good on this. Please let me hire the right people. Like, please give me the wisdom not to mess this thing
Oh,
up.
so good.
And that was my thing. And I literally can just go back to I was actually dancing with a West African group, and I was always going to the classes called Iodele Drum and Dance, and I was
Mhm.
dancing with them, and so I was able to take like some of their master dancers and hire them because I wasn't a professional. You know, in West African dance, I just knew the technique, at an intermediate level, but I wasn't an expert like they were. So I was able to bring them in, hire them, and they really just helped spearhead the program, the djembe drummers and everything. And when you go, if you have ever been to a West African dance class, it's nothing but community.
Wow.
Everybody is for each other. It's nothing but community. So I was able to bring in the djembe drummers, and it was like, I got you, Mama. Oh, you're my sister. What do you need us to do? We were able to run that thing in probably 4 different schools and 2 special education schools right after this contract. So it went from teaching 1 day a week to 2 days a week to 3 different schools in the district, because District 205 has 3 different schools, to where we had about 5 classes for West African dance and drumming.
Wow.
And so it grew so masterful in such a short amount of time to where I was just in awe. And so it got to a point to where I was just like, I get it. Okay, God, I surrender. Like, I'm not gonna force it. Okay, you saying, no, ma'am, you're not supposed to be this district manager in fashion. We're gonna bring fashion into the schools. This is what we're doing. And when I tell you, I'm still I'm still in awe. And it's been, well, we started in 2012. It's now 2023.
Wow.
So to say that we've made impact is an understatement.
Wow. Whoo! And I saw the tears kind of coming for those that are not watching us on YouTube, because y'all can watch us on YouTube now, y'all. Hey YouTube. I saw the tears as it was fulfilling, not just fulfilling. Let me back up. I saw the tears because I think that for any mom that's really truly finding her purpose or trying to understand, what is it that she should be doing, and then to get this check. Did you know how much the check was going to be when you first got it? Or you just was like, I'm taking it?
Well, you know what? That's funny, because I was definitely willing to negotiate, but I did the numbers. I was very big about that. So I did the numbers. I researched how much the equipment was. And that's something that I teach in my for-profit business now. Like, you all have to know your numbers when you're trying to get these contracts, because you're either going to break even or you want to profit, but we want to profit. And so I did the numbers, like how much were the djembe drums at Guitar Center? How much were lapas? Like, what did I need to get for uniforms for the kids? So I did the numbers and I presented them with the number based on how often we were going to be teaching and what the equipment cost was.
So,
and gas and mileage and everything else. So, yep.
So let's break this down. I love saying let's break this down. Mm-hmm. You mentioned that you were already ready, right? And then this is added additional information of added layers of how you were ready, because you talked about you had your bank account ready, right? Mm-hmm. You were prepared for what I like to call the promise, right? You didn't wait on opportunity to come, but let me get my bank account ready. Oh, this stuff is not ready. You didn't go to the table, 50%. You took everything to the table. This is why I love just hearing what you did, because there was no blueprint for what you did, but you're like, this is the figure. And so not only was your business structure together, you had the business strategy that was also together, as a way of, what, my goal isn't, especially this first time, my goal isn't necessarily to profit, but I don't want to come up on a low end either, because it is going to cost for my team to come out there. So I want to ask about, I like the fact that you say you have a non-for-profit and you also have a for-profit. So the for-profit funds the non-for-profit as well?
No, ma'am. So the for-profit acts as its own entity.
Okay.
I started that during the pandemic. I had my first daughter back in 2018. Got pregnant with her in 2017. Had my first daughter in 2018. And so, mind you, I was still dancing up until 7.5 months with her. And me and my husband were running like 6 programs at a charter school. He was over the musical department, and I was teaching, I think, dance and fashion at the time. And literally, people have been asking me for the past 5 or 6 years, you work in the schools, how do I get my programs in the schools? But I just never had the time, because I worked in my business. I was never just a CEO. I always worked in my business. And it got a point to when the school shut down. I was pregnant with my second daughter during the pandemic, and I stopped teaching my last class in May of 2020. And literally I said, and I was in an actual entrepreneurship cohort. And I said, you know what? They keep asking me about this. I don't need help with raw talent, right? Like, we're in the growing stages. So at this point, it's just the investors and different things that we're trying to build. because we're going to open up our own school. So we already knew that.
Mm-hmm.
But I need something to where I can teach these people how to get their programs into the school. How do I get an educational contract? Because that's still a governmental contract. It's procurement. How do I get this? And so I started the RTPA incubator to help people build their curriculums, to help them be able to gain an educational contract or a contract within the marketplace as a whole. Because I'm a firm believer, no matter what we're doing, it's still ministry, no
Mm-hmm.
matter what we're doing.
It
And
is.
ministry still aligns, yes, ma'am, and ministry still aligns with marketplace. So we have to be able to have a happy mesh between the two. It's cool to operate in your purpose, but you need to be getting funded for it.
Right.
And so,
Your purpose is profitable. Don't let that.
absolutely trademark that, absolutely. And so it got to a point to where I talked to my husband. I said, hey babe, I really think I should build this thing. And he was like, you should go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And what was so funny was because I started my own 501c3 organization, mind you, with really no help. I had to call the state. I had to learn everything myself, be on the phone with IRS. So I knew how to help people start their own businesses, LLC, 501c3, things like that. So that's actually how the incubator started. A lot of people did not have their business stuff in order as far as documentation. And so I helped them with that, like brainstorming sessions, getting the things together as far as their EIN paper, LLC, S Corp, all of those things, 501c3. And then they said, hey, we want to get our programs into the schools. We need help building our mentoring program. I'm an author and I want to get my books into the school and different things like that. And so it just made sense.
I love this. Omouzuwa, I love this. Like, I think that, and I definitely am in a phase of considering the 501(c) area because you want to be able to give back not just to yourself but the generation that's coming up behind you. So how do you find the vehicle of entrepreneurship, or how do you feel like the vehicle of entrepreneurship to be able? How do you find the vehicle of entrepreneurship? Um, how are you able to feel like I'm trying to feel like how I want to say this question. How do you think entrepreneurship can be a path for generational wealth is what I want to ask. And what advice do you have for moms who are interested in starting things like a 501(c) and a non-for-profit? Because everything that you're doing is in alignment, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I would definitely say, for the first thing, a vehicle entrepreneurship, I am team entrepreneurship. Even when my parents were like, no, go get a teaching degree. I was raised with a full blown, strict Nigerian daddy. There was no business owner. It was go get your degree and then become a business owner. I said, no, that's not my path. If I can get a 45K contract and that's the same as a first year teaching salary, and I could teach what I want to teach, I do not have to be a science, English. I don't have to be in a box. I can go and teach entrepreneurship. I could teach fashion. I could teach creative writing. I could teach majorette dance. Why do I have to be in this box? So I would first say to that, entrepreneurship, I feel, is the gateway to success, and it's the gateway to clarity and exposure. Whatever you're sitting on, you have to birth it. Because that very thing that you may be unhappy with, or that very thing that you're trying to figure out, how can I get to the next level? My income is staying the same. How can I advance? Entrepreneurship is a vehicle that I love to call where it's no cap. You can make the most money you want to make without somebody telling you what you can make. You can explore opportunities that you've never even thought of, and you do not have to be in a corporate box.
Right.
And you get to work with outstanding people, especially now because we service business to business. You get to work with these multi-million-dollar corporations and business owners, and you get to tell them how much you charge.
Right. Oh, that's so good. We had a guest on and the episode just aired. It was called Corporatepreneur because we try to find balance on the Mommy Making Millions podcast because we know so many of the moms have so many different walks of life. You know, there are some moms that still truly love corporate. You know, they want to climb that corporate ladder. They got like one foot in corporate and the other foot in entrepreneurship. And I was guilty of that. But I like the fact that you stand firm with who you are. This is why I like the diversity of the moms that come on the episodes with us, because you get to see the perspectives that each woman, each mom, each of us have, and the uniqueness that has allowed us to drive success in different paths, different walks. So it's almost like you know, so the reason I love bringing you ladies on this podcast is because somebody needs to hear this. You know, somebody was probably considering 501(c)(3)s, or am I saying that right? 501(c)(3).
C3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, maybe feeling like, well, I'm already doing my for-profit. Is this too much? Or I've never seen it. Or maybe I do have also really strict parents, or Nigerian parents, or just parents that believe that I should be following this path. And we're breaking this cycle and saying, you know, what's for me is for me. Even though we make entrepreneurship look super easy, and I know your path wasn't easy, what was some of those highs and lows during that transitional phase of you trying to figure out when you were first getting started? Can you share some of the challenges that you faced as you were, you know, in that beginning phase, or how you even overcame some of the challenges that you may have faced early on?
Absolutely. I would like to say that from being, and I always reference back in the fashion industry because that's where I came from, but I worked heavily in the HR division. That was easy for me because I knew what to do. I knew who to ask for, right? I knew what type of person we needed to bring in the store and hire. In my own business, and I am able to say this, I absolutely suck at that. I am not great at hiring. I am such a empath to where I just, especially as a creative, I have this heart, and the heart gets me in trouble all the time because
Mm-hmm.
I hire the wrong people. They're the great people. They're great at what they do, but they don't have the type of training that we would need them to have. Because
Yeah.
when you come into where we are, you have to know how to have classroom management. You have to know how to be able to, have your personal issues be outside and come in as a superb professional. And sometimes everybody, can't do that. So that was the first thing. The second thing was I wish, and I thank God now for maturity and clarity. Also, I worked with someone you had on here, Takesha Artist. I worked with her for 3 months straight for money mindset, and it just really helped. Actually, for almost a year, but it really helped. I wish that my money mindset was better when I started, because I would spend so much money on material and different things like that. And I didn't have anybody saying, hey, we don't have the budget for this. Hey, we can't spend that right now. This is what it needs to look like. So I wish that I would have had that. And I also would have had a more trusting heart to allow people in when it came to helping me build it. Because one thing that people forget, or they do not think or consider, is that a non-for-profit does not mean that it's not profitable. We are a service-based non-for-profit organization. That means that we do not rely on grants. Grants is just an addition to what we're already making, but we are solely contract-based.
Can you say that again for the people that did not hear what you just said about the non-for-profit not being profitable?
Absolutely. Just because you are a non-for-profit, it does not mean that it is not a profitable organization. It can be profitable. There are multi-million dollars non-for-profits. Literally.
Let's be
So
clear.
let's be clear. So you just have to know how your non-for-profit needs to operate, and and the things that you offer. But I would say those are really my three biggest challenges. Now we have an organizational manager. Now I have someone to help us with HR. Now we know that we need a community manager, somebody who's out there in the field. And so that works for us. So now we're just ready, because we did take a 2-year break during the pandemic, and then I had 2 more children. So, it was a thing of take a halt, reassess, and then let's get back in the mud. And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
I like the fact that you talk, man. You said you dropped some gems, Omouzuwa. Okay, can we talk about that? I always say, and I didn't say it at the beginning of this episode, we got an amazing guest on the Mommy Making Millions podcast. I always say that, but I know people are so tired of me saying that. But this is why. This is truly why. And I'm hard on people that I allow to come on this platform because I really feel like it has to be purpose driven, and I have to see the vision for what it is that you're doing and how it's in alignment to connect with someone that needs to hear what it is that you're doing. And I just love everything about what you're doing. I love the fact that you talked about you took a break from this. You know, it's okay to take a break. Like I had two more kids, but it's still possible. You know, I had to probably restructure. And you talked about having Takesha talk about that money mindset. We did have Takesha on the podcast, which was the wealthy mom lifestyle. And so money mindset is definitely important, but for you to understand like your own grace in your own process, like I could slow down a little bit, but that doesn't mean I have to just completely give up just because there's a hiccup or there's a road bump or there's a stop sign in the route to my success and the success that I'm trying to see. So I really love like everything that you've said today, from the transparency. How do you balance all of this as a mom though?
So it was definitely rough. Like my first daughter, it was like, so I have a bonus daughter. So it was easier, of course, with her. We could just take her anywhere. So that was easy, and everybody is sharing the role. And then when I had Hadia in 2018, she was an easier baby. But what I realized was I nursed with her, and we're vegan. So we had a vegan formula that we made as well. So she was doing both. And so that was a little easier. I could pump, still go to dance practice, still coach. And she was a dance baby. You know, she was a dance and drumline baby. So she was the traveling child. Every competition, every practice, she was there. Her and her sister, absolutely, her and her sister Janaya. So they know like what it means from the gate to get out the mud. They absolutely know. They're little business owners already. And but when it came to me getting pregnant again, I said, this is a lot. I'm serving hundreds of children. And then I still have my children. And then I'm still a new wife. This is a lot. I had postpartum twice. And I was very transparent about that. I've nursed all of my children to where I just stopped nursing last November. And it got to a point to where I honestly, transparently, Marquitta, I told my husband, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm tired. I'm tired. Whatever this looks like, I even like stop with the incubator for a second. Like I am exhausted. I'm trying to figure out everything. I'm trying to learn from too many people. I'm trying to mock from people, because when you get into a position to where you come from, now it's easy to get contracts, right? It's easy to do these things. And you have to take a hard stop and your money stops and different things like that. You start to feel a certain way. So you learn from people, and then you don't purposely try to, but you end up almost kind of mocking the way that they do things. But that was never your purpose.
That's right.
So I had to take a step back for me, because I started to cloud what God had for me. I wasn't sitting still in what He told me to do. I was too busy trying to talk to the world. And I'm going to say this, if I have my husband he was my best friend first. We worked in business together, then we became best friends, and now we are married. When I say that man literally is the greatest father on this planet, like I can't speak for anybody else. I can only speak for our household. But he literally had been there with me from everything. So if it wasn't for me having a supportive husband and a phenomenal father to our children, I probably would have been somewhere, you know what I'm saying, laid out somewhere. Because if you do not have an entrepreneurial mindset, you're not going to understand what we go through. If you haven't taken the leap, you're not going to understand what failure is and what it means to pick yourself back up from that. So transparently, since 2020, I have been picking myself back up. But now it's a new day and we're flourishing. But I had to be conscientious, because there was some breaking moments, and there
Got
was some
real.
moments where I could even destroy my household
Yeah.
with my emotions and my tongue and my feelings. But I had to get still and hear God, because there's no way I can get to the millionaire and billionaire status that has been prophesied over my life if I'm not being still and listen to what he's saying. And I had to do that.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's like so many chills. Um, I always make people cry when they come on the podcast. But I
I'm a
warn
cry.
them, it's like trigger warning. You say the nitty gritty, right? We want the real, so y'all know it's not. We don't ever try to make this seem like super easy or like super glamorous. Because we know, like any entrepreneur knows, like this is really real work that we're doing. And you mentioned the fact that entrepreneurship has to be in your heart. Like this has to be something that you just really desire so much more. I think when I was a kid, people used to say, like, "What do you remember the question? What do you want to be when you're older?" I could never
Mm-hmm.
answer that. I could never answer that. I used to be like, I never had an answer, and I don't think that when we're growing up as kids and we see all of these things like teacher and singer and all these things, all of the things, which is my new favorite word from Atlanta, um
Mm-hmm.
we don't consider that we're just different. I think entrepreneurs, we're just different in who we're called to be and different in who we are. And so that doesn't always look easy when you're a faith-based believer, when you're believing God, when you're following his path, when you are allowing your purpose to push who you are. And the fact that you said I did have that support system there, I think that it does matter that you are equally yoked with a spouse that sees the vision, that understands the vision, that does have that entrepreneur mindset. Postpartum is not something that's easy. So we don't take that stuff lightly. Like nothing you saying is light work. It's just the fact that you were able to get some type of normacy from it. I'm never going to say you overcame it because I don't know where you are with it, but come to a position where you're able to identify it and call that thing out so that you can do the healing and go through the process that you need to be a better you. And now guess what? You're here on the Mommy Making Millions podcast to continue to tell that story to somebody else who may be struggling with that. Like this just a full circle moment.
Yeah.
So what are some of your future plans for your business, and how do you see it continuing to make a positive impact for you, your community, and just beyond?
Absolutely. So I am excited to say that Raw Talent Performing Arts is in our 2-year track of building our first school. So that is where we are. I am looking to impact the community in such a way to where we have a legion, like of campuses of our schools in the arts, in STEM. So STEM is definitely a big component, but STEAM, when you add arts and STEM and business leadership, that is very important to us. So being able to do that and award at least every year of over $150,000 to young entrepreneurs. That is my goal. Every year when we have our gala, I want to be able to present over $150 to young entrepreneurs. That's my goal, and it's going to happen. It's
You
absolutely
said
going to happen.
$150 to each entrepreneur.
50,000.
Okay, I wanted to make sure because I heard 100. I heard 150. And so I wanted to be clear on that. She didn't say no light work because if y'all heard what I heard, I was like, wait, I heard 150,000 and I heard 150. Let's be clear. So what you're saying isn't light. Okay.
No.
Some of us don't even see $150,000 a year in our own businesses. So to be awarded that and have the vision to bless another youth on their journey. Could you imagine what you could have did with $150,000 just getting started off with a fresh
Listen,
mind?
so much. So much.
Like,
So
man,
much.
wish I did have
But
somebody that was thinking of me, building
yeah,
business
and
that look like me.
yes, absolutely. And
So,
literally, no, literally with everything just taking over in entrepreneurship is important because a lot of people give seed money to businesses, but they don't think about, did I give them seed money to trademark this from the inception? That's where I'm at. I want to protect your intellectual property from the door so we can continue to build upon this product and launch.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation because like these trademarks ain't nothing. They better go back and listen to Kiana's episode when we talk about the trademarks. Because listen, trademark is not to be played with on no level. And the fact that you're teaching them the foundation right. So I'm super proud of you. I look forward to doing additional business with you in the future. I hope that we can see you at the Mommy Making Millions Pearls and Prosperities brunch so that the other women can get to know you, network and connect with you, but also that you can also be continuously poured into as a mom, continue to develop your business strategy, some fresh ideas, and continue to just go on your path of entrepreneurship and do the work that only the Mommy Making Millions could have actually fulfilled. Like nobody does it the way that moms do it. So I think the heart and passion is there. I truly thank you, Omouzuwa. Where can we connect with you? Just get all up in your business. You know, I got some moms that are going to be reaching out because they need to know how to get these $45,000 contracts. I got some other moms that are going to be reaching out for you to help them start their non-for-profit. I mean, we're getting ready to also do the Mommy Making Millions community, and I would love for you to even come in and teach on that topic. So it's so much like, but tell the people where they can meet and find you first so that they can know how to connect with you as well.
Absolutely. So I am on Facebook as Omouzuwa Seymour-El. I think it's Omouzuwa A Seymour-El, but I'm on Facebook as that. Literally, when you type in Omouzuwa, it's gonna come right on up.
It's you.
So it's gonna come right, just the first person. So you can connect with me on Facebook. You can connect with me on Instagram under Hey Zua. So that's Hey_Zua. And then you can also connect with me on TikTok as the same way, Hey_Zua. And I'm on LinkedIn, of course, as Omouzuwa Seymour-El. So you can connect with me on all of my personal platforms and we can just start the conversation there. I love organic conversation. So just shoot me a DM and we can go from there.
I love organic conversation too. I be all in people DMs, sliding through like, what's up? Hey, I love your, sometimes just say something as simple as, hey, I love your feed, and people can see if you're in alignment with their vision and their brand. So don't be afraid to be bold. And then we got Omouzuwa coming to the Mommy Making Millions podcast brunch. So if you're there, see her there and be bold about that as well. So this was amazing. Thank you all for listening. We will have Omouzuwa's information in the show notes. Until next time, Mommy Millionaires, be great. Girl, if this episode blessed you, listen, I'm just going to ask that you would continue to leave me a review. Not only a review, but just to be honest about where you are really feeling, what you're really feeling about this episode, so that I can continue to bring you more episodes like this one here. In addition, if you are not joining us May 7th here in Chicago for the Mommy Making Millions 2023 brunch, listen, we're getting ready to have a transformational experience in the room. Get in the room. Tickets are now on sale on our website, on the Mommy Making Millions website, on Marquitta Johnson website. Hey, just click the show notes and you also see the link there down below where you can actually join us. Get a seat in the room, Mommy Millionaire. Your next is now, and I want to see you there in the room. We are bold about who we're becoming, and so I can't really explain what's going to happen, but just know that it's about to go down. So if you've enjoyed this episode and you're wanting more, I'll see you not only at the Mommy Making Millions 2023 brunch, but I'm also looking forward for you to just sharing your feedback and letting us know so that more people can know about the Mommy Making Millions podcast.